When the clock strikes 6:30, babe.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Retro Pop Planet, and you're getting another intro from my car because it's a very windy day and some of my audio is not working very well. Plus the retail establishments around me, there's a 7-Eleven for whatever reason is blasting opera music and it's very annoying, and then the gas station over here is blasting a Christian station, and I know I'm going to get copyright flagged. But what are we doing today? Well, you've probably seen from the title, I don't know what it is about the YouTube algorithm, but over the last 2 to 3 weeks I keep getting fed videos about McDonald's ad campaign in the late 1980s, Mac Tonight. Now, like every kid of my generation, I grew up with Mac Tonight. I love Mac Tonight. I haven't thought about Mac Tonight in a few years, but I guess the Mac Tonight Animatronic, which to my knowledge is the last publicly displayed Mac Tonight, which is in Orlando, Florida, is running. And I remember the last time I was in Orlando was like 2017, and we did go there for lunch or dinner one day before or after hitting Disney, and I went upstairs and he was not working. They did play a couple of the songs, but the animatronic was dead and it was very creepy. I don't know much about animatronics, but the Mac Tonight animatronic was always very stiff and kind of creepy anyway. And in the 1970s and 80s, animatronics were all the rage. I grew up with them. I grew up a Showbiz Pizza kid, and after having watched several of these videos, I started seeing people insert video clips of a restored animatronic.
When the clock strikes 6:30, babe, time to head for golden lights. It's a good time.
And I did a little bit of research, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that an animatronic that I grew up with is the animatronic that people are reposting and including in their video clips as an example of a restored Mac Tonight. I haven't seen anybody do a video from this location, and you're wondering where I am. I'll show you. So apologies, we still have the opera going on over there. I'll try to talk over it, but we are outside of a McDonald's. Now, it's not just any McDonald's. This was the 50s rock and roll diner that McDonald's had rolled out through an unknown number of locations, and this is where that Mac Tonight was located. Now, you can see it's a remodeled McDonald's, and there's a story behind that. And you can see it's definitely just a remodeled McDonald's, your typical new style boring McDonald's. See if I can't line up some of those locations from the Google Maps that I took. So we are in Woodbridge, Virginia, near Potomac Mills Mall. And in the late 80s, early 1990s, when I was in elementary school, middle school, this is a place that we would come a lot with a friend of mine and his parents, and we would come down here for, discount clothing. This McDonald's was a spot that we would stop at for lunch. You can see the mall is right across the street here, and if it wasn't the first outlet mall in the area, it was definitely the largest. And that's why we always came down here. And it was a unique McDonald's because it had a Mac Tonight animatronic in the very middle of the store. And it was a rock and roll 50s themed McDonald's. They would play a lot of 50s music, some 60s music. And it had a lot of red, sparkly vinyl and chrome. And it was a really just fun place to come eat. Well, it's not a place we went to very often because, it's not super close to my house. But the primary focus for coming down here was that outlet mall. Now, I do remember when we would come here, how awesome it was. I don't know how often it actually would play, but there were definitely a lot of musical interludes where Mac Tonight would talk, and then he would launch into a song, some of the songs from the commercials, some original songs, In most cases, he was just singing along to popular artists from the 50s and 60s. He had very limited articulation. I remember his hands moving. I think his legs moved and his head would move, and then his mouth would open and close. Now, over the years, he started to fade. And he was in pretty rough shape the last time I saw him, which probably was maybe around 2010, something along those lines. And he wasn't working at all. And the last time I saw him, he was missing his shoes, I believe. I think he was missing his gloves or his hands, and he looked really rough. I took some old photos. I can't find them. They were on a long ago digital camera. Luckily, I found some on the internet. According to a Reddit thread that I found, he disappeared around 2016, meaning he no longer was in the store. And then the photos that I found that I did a video from outside, those were from 2018. And I think that's sometime around where the building itself got remodeled. And if I do a zoom in on that photo, you can see that Mac Tonight is no longer sitting at that piano. And it would appear also that the piano itself is gone. And I dove a little bit deeper on a couple of other Reddit threads, and it turns out that the contractor that actually redeveloped this McDonald's was given the Mac Tonight, or he asked for it and he got it. And then he shipped it off to a company in Pennsylvania that restores electronics, or it might have been a company that he had worked with, because I found a video on YouTube, and this is the one that everyone keeps reposting, and it's a company talking about how they restored Mac Tonight, and that they posted a video of him working, and then it's in the contractor's private collection. So who knows where that is, but I'm just happy knowing that it still exists. Now, somebody more versed than me can tell me what operating system that Mac Tonight was on, but it looks like when the electronics company got it, it was full of components, and it took like a supercomputer to run him. This was definitely early to mid 80s technology. The computer was massive, and I have a feeling that over the years, the parts were impossible to come by, especially a lot of the hydraulic parts that made up the animatronic. And the owner of this franchise location probably didn't have it in him to redo it, or even know how, or even know who could even work on those computer parts, if you could even get them anymore. And this was, 20 plus years down the line, and the advancements in computer technology has changed so rapidly that I bet this thing was running off of 3.5 discs, or floppy disks. I think it's fitting that we've got the new McDonaldland promotion going on right now. The other thing that I remember is that over the years, a lot of the stuff that was on the walls, there was a lot of McDonald themed 50s diner style artworks, and those started disappearing. I don't know if there was a lot of theft. There was a lot of like records that were on the wall. Some were probably more for display. Some might have been real records. Those disappeared also. We just had an announcement over the loudspeaker that this is a secured facility, meaning that every hour or so they come through and they detect or they try to see if there's any unauthorized activity going on. So maybe theft down here is really a problem, and it could have been a problem for this location as well. But this is not the only themed McDonald's that was in Woodbridge. And in fact, this is not the only themed McDonald's that was in Potomac Mills Mall. We also had a classic McDonald's with the golden arches, and it was a drive-through only, and that was just right down the street. Now, I do remember that one. I don't remember actually ever going through there, but it was always cool to see. It was very unique, and it was the only one that I knew of that was around. And I did some more internet searching and discovered that that building was abandoned for a long time, and the town council would have many meetings about it. It was an eyesore, it was wrapped, it was falling into vandalism and disrepair. Unfortunately, there's nothing to see there now because it was actually demolished, and now it's a drive-through Starbucks, which is fitting, I guess. So let me show you this location a little bit, and you can see that the Mac Tonight was actually somewhere around here in the very middle of the store. And there's a lot more windows now here, I think, than there were when it was a 50s McDonald's. I do have one more thing I want to show you that is really awesome, and it's right behind me. It's a McDonald's play place, and you've probably already seen them. We have a 90s Ronald, and he's fully restored. This thing is awesome. I remember these being at Walmart, primarily at the Walmart McDonald's, but he is here now in the Woodbridge McDonald's that still has a functioning toddler area. And right on the other side of this glass was where Mac Tonight used to sit. Doug Jones was the actor cast to portray Mac Tonight. An ad company created the Moon Man character to help increase dinner sales at McDonald's restaurants in California. The campaign was so successful that it eventually went nationwide, after having contributed to increasing dinner sales in the California market. Mac himself developed a cult-like following. In the early 1990s, a seemingly unknown number of animatronics were built by Manatron for use in restaurants throughout the country. Unfortunately, Mac Tonight's theme song and titular mannerisms were deemed in court to have infringed upon the copyrights of the estate of late 50s crooner Bobby Darin. I've always put the ad campaign into the category of cozy commercials. I was an avid Nick at Night viewer as a kid, and the commercials would get heavy rotation during breaks between shows like Donna Reed and My Three Sons. I also remember seeing it when watching the Joan Rivers and Arsenio Hall shows. Alright guys, so that is the Mac Tonight story, or at least the best that I can tell it. If you like this video, please give it a like. Please feel free to subscribe for more nonsense like this. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm actually down in this area for work today, and I thought it was just as fitting that I would stop by and give my 2 cents about Mac Tonight. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.